Gentlemen and female gentlemen, today is a dark day. It's a day so sad that a new meme was born. A meme talking about how Helluva Boss is so awful, apparently, that even its diehard fans are dropping it. This is a meme that's been going around everywhere. It's been going around Twitter. It's been going around YouTube. People are talking about this everywhere you look because of a certain someone named Sarcastic Chorus. Sarcastic Chorus is one of the biggest Helluva Boss reviewers out there. He drops his review of Helluva Boss basically immediately after every single episode. He pretty much only has good things to say basically every single time. But apparently the cake was a lie. Apparently he was not loving Helluva Boss so much. I don't know, I didn't watch this video yet. But apparently he was not loving nor vibing Helluva Boss all that much. He was making videos for views, saying things that he thought was important for people to hear. God, it's so sad. It's so sad. So he finally released this video, my last Helluva Boss review and why I'm done. With possibly one of the greatest thumbnails of all time. Let's go. We needed some Toji respect. But dude, people on Twitter, the writing was so bad, even the diehard fans are tapping out now. To those who don't know, this man would defend Helluva Boss every single time an episode released and how it had potential. He's completely done with how bad the writing is getting. And this is insane. This is like bonkers big. Everyone's talking about the insanity of the situation. So we're just jumping right into my last Helluva Boss review and why I'm done by Sarcastic Chorus. This is a huge drama, huge part of contention. Apparently, it's insane, and I'm a little scared to see what this is all about. Now, I think that Helluva Boss is great. I think it's very good. I think it's a solid 8 to 8.5 out of 10 watch. It is indie animation that I actually respect a lot. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a 9.7 out of 10. Everything is wonderful. The end. But I do think this is a story about really broken characters getting along with each other. And I respect this, I respect his opinion, whatever it is, because honestly, you can have any opinion you want. I don't actually care. I'm not here to opinion police. I am here to say that I don't like that when people make fake reviews because they think that's what their audience wants to hear. As someone that started my career out on YouTube making anime reviews, I know how easy it is to just get swept up and go with the flow. You say Sword Art Online is pretty good, and people lose their mind because you're supposed to hate Sword Art Online. So anyway, let's see what this is all about. Let's see the complete and utter collapse and downfall of Helluva Boss. And let's just jump right into this drama, baby!
This was not the video I was expecting to make. Ever. Yeah.
Alright.
I'm out. This will be my...
Oh, dude's gone! Dude, he's the guy that's literally been doing this every single time a Helluva Boss episode came out. He was the first one on the scene with his review. Goddammit. Bro is out there. Talking about Helluva Boss was actually great. Holy moly.
My last Helluva Boss video, and it feels freeing to say. It's bittersweet, and hell yeah, I'm afraid for this channel going forward. However, upon
True. I get that fear. Hold up. Let's look at his videos. Wait a second. Because I remember Helluva Boss was like his biggest channel, right? It was his biggest video. See, this is his new video, right? Alright, Digital Circus is still out there. Dude, his Helluva Boss videos are unironically his biggest videos. His Helluva Boss reviews are literally his biggest videos. Oh god, that's scary. Bro, dude, I hope you're taking care of yourself, bro.
Reflection, I think being a content creator has actively ruined my relationship to Helluva Boss, and
I think that's valid.
Having seen Mastermind in the finale, I think I've arrived at a place where I'm ready to let the show go.
Holy shit, does he hate it? Does he just, like, hate it now? Did he hate the last 2 episodes? Is it because the ship became canon? The ship became canon and he's like, I'm out.
I'm not vibing with it anymore, and rather than ghosting y'all or making a community post, I figured I'd do one last vid to better explain how it's come to this. Plus, my parting thoughts on Season 2 as a whole, and yeah, that'll be it.
God damn! Bro's leaving because he hates the show? I mean, we'll see what he has to say. I get how being a content creator can sour your appreciation of certain things that you're covering. I think that's completely valid. I used to make One Piece videos. I will admit I've been enjoying One Piece a lot more ever since I don't need to literally grind out One Piece reviews the moment every fucking chapter is done or whatever. That I totally respect that. However, Bro, ain't no way!
And yes, the irony that I, the original Stolitz fanboy YouTuber, am dropping the show right after the ship got confirmed.
Bro, this guy, it's exactly what I'm saying, dude. The ship gets confirmed and he's like, nah, no more drama, no more shipping, get at it.
Yeah, that's not lost on me. So context, I have been talking about Helluva Boss for nearly 4 years. I've been a fan of the show since a pilot, which blew me away from a production comedic standpoint.
All right, yes, valid.
It took me a while to actually start talking about the show, with my first review for Cherubs inexplicably blowing up. Though my
even though that was probably the worst episode of season 1.
Standing theory was always that it wasn't the review, I didn't say like the deepest things. It was probably just a combo of loreheads really wanting to hear about how heaven was corrupt, as Hazbin Hotel hadn't come out yet, and that was straight up confirmed immediately. But also blew up because the engagement for it was insane, because every single gun nut COD player just couldn't resist correcting me on how this wasn't an AK.
Yeah, everyone's got a couple of comments that rub them the wrong way. All right.
It was a throwaway line, guys. I didn't bother to look it up, it was there.
It's obviously a sniper rifle.
But that was just my first foray. The video that really set the tone and changed like the course of my career was my explaining Stolitz one, which...
God damn. Bro's career was built on the Stolitz ship. He was built on shipping these characters. It is confirmed, and bro's just like, peace, I'm out. My job is done. Oh my god, chat, I was joking. It's obviously not a sniper rifle. Stop. Dude, I was joking. Stop it. It's obviously a pistol.
Pre-dork was just a concept, a hypothetical, toxic overtones and all. This video is what truly changed my career, as I went from doing sarcastic summaries and reviews to discussing other ships.
That was his first shipping video. For those of you that are unaware, Sarcastic Chorus's channel is a shipping channel, all right? I've never gotten into ships, personally. It's just literally not my thing when I watch shows. I'm ready to see where the story is gonna take it, but I'm so not into that, personally. But bro, I cannot believe this launched his career and he's dropping the show. Oh my god, that's insane. It's like, this show burnt him so badly. Helluva Boss burnt him so badly with this finale that instead of just making reviews going forward, even if you don't have to glaze it every time. Bro, you don't have to glaze it. Oh my god.
Which is something that I low-key have always been doing. I mean, this is how I opened the first video of mine that ever gained traction.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes!
Bro, what? No. Okay, Dragon Prince ship. That was not a ship. That was literally romantic tension from the first episode.
Spoilers. Frankly,
all right, let's go, baby.
This has always been my vibe, I just wasn't ready to commit to the bit yet. But yes, I did this video, lives are changed, and I started talking about Helluva Boss a lot.
Goddamn, that's a lot of Helluva Boss videos.
Pulling all-nighters to get the reviews out the next day, then taking a page out of Cartoon Universe's playbook by making other videos about my other takes on the show, the events, the controversies, with it being a pretty sweet gig.
Oh my god, bro, dude was grinding! He does an immediate review, and then he does like 4 more videos on each episode. You have to realize the dedication he's had for years. Bro, dude, Helluva Boss drama is insane. An episode would come out, he'd stay up all night making a review, then he'd spend the next week cranking out another 3-4 videos on various aspects of the show. And he's just walking away from it. Holy crap.
All things considered, I got to talk about the show that I really liked and get paid for it.
That's pretty sweet. Getting paid talking about things that you like? Goddamn.
Like, that is every fanboy's dream. Yes, the clickbait was awful.
Thank you for mentioning this. Thank you. I have been very attuned with the clickbait on this channel. All right, listen.
But let's be honest.
Massive tone problem.
It worked.
It worked.
And
dude, the way the Millie
yes,
problem,
the clickbait was awful, but let's be honest, it worked.
Yeah, listen, I covered this video in the past. I was like, bro, this is insane. By the way, the Millie problem is talking about the character Millie. Do you know what his problem is with Millie? The fact that okay, I might just be remembering not fully correctly here. I just kind of want to let you know what he means by the clickbait. This is a video talking about how every single character in Helluva Boss is has tragic backstories that would warp them and give them all character arcs where they need to overcome their fucking awful past. All right, that was basically every single character in Helluva Boss except for Millie, who's just kind of had a nice backstory and she's awesome and badass. And the Millie problem is because they don't do enough with Millie because because she's literally not fucking tortured soul or something. It's like, bro, that is not the Millie problem, dude. But anyway, I'm glad he's mentioning the clickbait.
And by some miracle, I was able to remain relevant as the series kept going, which I've always felt very fortunate for considering just how many other channels fell off. Though I do think part of that is just how insanely quick other reviewers just turned on Helluva Boss.
Damn, dude, I didn't turn on Helluva Boss. I think obviously there are flaws to the series. Listen, it's an 8 out of 10. I enjoy it a lot, maybe 8.5 even. I enjoy every episode as they come out. I'm not gonna sit here and make believe it's peak fiction.
Channels went from declaring the show amazing, perfect, to calling it glorified fan fiction in the most disparaging ways possible.
Like, those people are fake too. I'm just saying. I'll be real here. Those people are just as fake. I think the people that are malevolently hating on a show, like, incessantly, is the same as the people glazing the show incessantly. I think both those camps are fake, and you get both kinds. You get people saying, X show is the best show ever of all time, and they need to put that spin on it because they're literally trying to gravitate to an audience that wants to hear it be glazed. That is a real thing. Now, on the other hand, you have the people that are hating on it because they're trying to build an audience based on people that want to hate it. Ultimately, almost everybody has propaganda in their reviews. Even though it's stupid cartoon reviews, that is a very real thing. And as someone that started off in, like, the anime review game 10 years ago when I started making videos, bro, this shit's a mafia. For real, for real. Like, it is an actual review mafia, where if you drop a review that goes against the grain, you get blacklisted by other people in the community. Like, you don't understand how petty some of these motherfuckers are. For real, for real. So almost everyone needs to pick a side and get divided and either be on the glaze train or the hate train. You are not allowed to watch a show and be like, yeah, this was okay. This was mid. This was pretty okay. I enjoyed it, but it's not like a masterpiece. You are not allowed to say that. You have to either glaze it or hate it to fall into one of the two sides of the freaking cartoon mafia.
After one episode,
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Season 2's premiere had former fans fighting to be known as this show's #1 hater.
True! You got former fans of the show literally coming out of the woodwork and being like, I hate it now! It's terrible now! Which, to be real, is attention whoring. People attention hoard. For real, for real. Which of your all old vids did this, boss? I don't think I had ever actively thought to myself, wow, this show is shit, but I'm gonna give it a positive review, or vice versa. I do think, in like my old anime review days, I was too generous with My Hero Academia. Too generous. I made a whole video talking about why Deku was the worst main character in Shonen, and I literally got canceled for that. But yeah, I think I was too generous with My Hero. And I think I was too hard on, Naruto Shippuden. Like, as examples. Like, I always said original Naruto was great, Naruto Shippuden kind of fell off a little bit, but I think Naruto Shippuden is still pretty great. At least until the war. Like, as examples, like, but that's, again, retrospect, me thinking back to the, to what I've done and now thinking about what I feel about them. But I don't think I've ever actively sold out, which is why I'm backstabbed by everyone. Because I have integrity. Yeah, that's right. That's my fan fiction.
And I didn't get it. Truly, while not blown away by the premiere and surprised by just how much the show was giving Stolas the Whoopi treatment, turning Stolas and Blitz into childhood friends was a wee bit out of nowhere based on what we saw from season 1, but I
mean, it was definitely a surprise. I wouldn't say it was like out of nowhere.
Still liked the episode as it was a good time, and I want to see where the story was going to go with this.
Yeah, the first episode was perfectly fine. I remember liking it, bruh.
Meanwhile, it felt like some other ladies and gentlemen were throwing excessive shade to get ahead of some Steven Universe-style backlash that they could ride to greater popularity. Did I always have the best take?
Bro, that is a reference to the Steven Universe fucking situation where you have some people glazing it and some people hating it, and once again you have no one in between. Did you see that? Like, dude, look at this fucking shit. This is insane. Lily Orchard, Steven Universe. Steven Universe is garbage, and here's why. 10 million views, 2 hours long. Lily Orchard is wrong, and here's why. 3 hours long, 1 million views. Like, do you see what I am talking about? This is insane. Like, dude, this is a mafia, bro. Oh my god. People would get shit on for praising it. People would get shit on for hating it. It was literally an all-out war where you had to pick a side. Like, cartoon reviewing on YouTube is basically modern day politics. except instead of hatred, this is vitriol.
Fuck no. Do I still stand by a lot of them? Yeah. Though I do fully cop to how I often feel like I have an issue adequately explaining what I'm trying to say, but that is a skill issue, so it's still on me. However, as the show kept going, things did start to change for me. It was still fun with great moments, but a slight tinge of disappointment at some of the choices just kept creeping in. With my first—
Alright, well, and I'm excited to hear the examples, because while I did like season 2, all in all, I thought it was pretty much as good as season 1, maybe a little worse than season 1. I think season 1 of Helluva Boss was better than season 2. Just because I thought like the last 3 episodes of season 1 were fire, like straight fire. But again, I thought both were fine.
Real conflict with the show and the nature of my relationship to it, coming with unhappy campers.
Yeah, that episode was mid. That was probably the weakest episode in the season.
I hated this episode. Like,
bro, he made a review talking about how it wasn't bad. Oh my god. Dude, this is literally the cartoon mafia at work. I remember making a review saying this wasn't bad.
Flat out. I finished it, and
this was the episode where you learned about his sister and stuff. Yeah, this episode was probably I remember even saying in my reaction to this episode that this was the weakest episode of the season. I mean, it's fine. It's maybe a 6 out of 10. Sure, but it's probably the weakest episode of the season.
I was in shock just by how much I didn't like it. From the comedy to the characterization, just how haphazardly the Barbie Wire storyline was tacked onto it. So I was ready to rip this thing a new asshole, but then I stopped myself.
Oh shit, post-Nux clarity. That I stopped myself because I couldn't just make a video hating on a show. I'm supposed to be a glazer. Oh my god.
I suddenly felt torn between my initial gut reaction and my brand.
Oh my god. This is crazy. This is crazy. Dude, that's insane. That's why I never like talk about things in a way that I don't want to talk about them. I've made this a part of my brand. Everyone knows you get unfiltered honesty here. All right, if you're watching my shit, then you know that my opinion is my actual opinion. Bro, and I have definitely lost shit over the way by, you know, living that life. I've definitely made people upset once or twice on the internet. Oh my god.
As a YouTuber, where for sure I have talked a lot of shit, but I always aspire at least try to be fair. I never want to be the guy name dropping the writers and blaming them for everything that is wrong with—
See, but like this episode, for example, I wonder if he's gonna talk about it. This episode with Blitz and Fizz, this episode was, I think, this was a great fucking episode.
This show, as that felt like too close to a personal attack and a fandom already overstuffed with them. So the idea of me just becoming another hater it didn't sit right.
Bro, it's not becoming a hater. If you didn't like an episode, be honest and criticize it. I don't know. I don't feel like you have any moral obligation to glaze something that you don't want to glaze. Listen, I have my fair share of complaints with great series that I love. Bro, again, I made My Hero Academia glaze videos, and then I dropped my fucking Deku hit piece. I literally dropped an hour-long video hit piece on Deku, the main character. And yes, I got death threats for that. I think that was like my first death threats, honestly. It was a good time. It was a good time. My first death threats. Yeah, my first death threats. The good old days. My Hero Academia death threats. Gotta love that shit, for real, for real. Let me see if I can find, is that Deku video still up? The reason why yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm... Fuck, bro. I cooked, bro. I cooked. Yes. Yes. Dude, I was ahead of the game. For real, for real. Deku officially sucks. Look at this fucking thumbnail. Oh, what was I doing? Anyway, listen. I just be real here. Every time. 100% Nuxanor.
With me. I talked with friends who called it their personal fave, so I started to think that it just might be a me thing. So I decided to be nice.
That's terrible. Don't be nice. Being nice is a sacrifice of integrity. Don't be nice in this business.
Giving the episode in the moment and in hindsight.
This is like being nice and not saying that Logan Paul is an asshole for running crypto scams. All right? He said, I was just being nice. No, you were not. You were not. You were not. Handing Logan Paul his own ass is being nice. Dude, if you cannot make reviews that are honest to yourself, you're in a rough spot. You gotta not give a shit about what your audience thinks of you. That is so not good. That's terrible advice if you want to be a successful YouTuber. But it's great advice if you want to be a good YouTuber. All right? This advice is not for people that are trying to be successful at all costs, but this is advice for people that want to be good content creators and be happier with themselves. Do not placate your audience. Do not sit there and sacrifice your integrity to not piss people off. Be real. Be you.
Too much grace. Coming up with justifications for the choices that semi-track, but in execution I thought didn't work or didn't achieve the desired effect, justified its own inclusion. And I've always regretted that.
Yeah, you see, that's what happens. It eats you out from the inside. Honestly, he's totally setting the record straight here, which I think is very noble and respectable. But yeah, no, you see how it's been eating him up for like the last 6 months that he made a review, a puff piece review. And he hates himself for making that shit.
Compromising my analysis for the sake of my brand, especially since it would be for fucking nothing. At this point, I was already going beyond simple reviews and ship analysis videos, 1 or 2 vids, like that feels fine to me per episode, but now I was pressuring myself to make as many videos as possible, have as many hot takes that were frequently more mellow than the thumbnails made them out to be, but again.
Why are you pressuring yourself into this spot? Like, dude, now you just have to drop the entire series cold turkey. You have to completely drop Helluva Boss because you were pressured yourself into making more videos on it. Dude, you don't owe anyone shit. See, my philosophy as being a YouTuber is incredibly unhealthy for everyone except for myself. Can I be real here? You do not owe your audience anything. You are making free content for them to enjoy. You don't have to pressure yourself into making a dozen videos. You can make whatever the fuck videos you want, okay? If you see my content is such a fucking shit pile. I literally do whatever I want on my channel. Now, am I saying that it's healthy? No, I honestly should just probably become anti-woke, pro-Trump, 100% literal grift. You're right, that would definitely be the best. But dude, you have to stop putting yourself in that headspace where you feel like everyone, where you just need to sacrifice your own passions and your love to grind this shit out. I mean, he realizes that, obviously, but it's so sad that he's only realizing it now after burning himself out of this series.
Again, clicks. But this desire to maximize what I could get out of every episode of Helluva Boss, which led to me feeling like my whole relationship with Helluva Boss was increasingly parasitic, which it always has been, but the shame was starting to creep in.
God damn. That's insane. I mean, look, I react to every episode of Helluva Boss as they come out worse, you know? As every episode comes out, I react it. And that's because I want to. You gotta realize, I would not react it if I didn't want to react it. Like, that is literally who I am. I'll just react to whatever I want. And you see, here's another thing. If I don't feel fulfilled or interested in reacting to something, I just won't react to that episode or whatever. See, here, let me explain to you something about being pressured into certain content. I react to a lot of death battles because I think death battle is fun. It's a cute way to power scale fiction. I always get butthurt over who wins because somehow the anime character always loses in death battle. Literally every time Goku is up against fucking a donut, the donut will find a way to kill Goku. Oh, we power scaled the donut to be 14 newtons of force. All right, shut the fuck up. All right, you know what I'm saying? Bro, every time. Guys, I'll be real here. I didn't watch the last death battle. I know, I always get views on my death battle reactions. The last death battle was Among Us versus Fall Guys, and it looked incredibly cringe. I didn't want to sit there and watch Among Us versus Fall Guys. It looked stupid, so I didn't watch it. And I got people bitching in my comments that I didn't react it, and I got people asking me where it is, and you know what? They're not entitled to anything. I have the right to do exactly whatever I want. That's what I'm saying. That is the healthy, that I know upfront and honest about that, and I think my audience respects doesn't respect the fact that I have the right to make that decision. I think that's just a healthy way to be a YouTuber. You don't have to fucking make videos purely for clicks that you don't want to make. I do understand the downward spiral of wanting to do that and fall into that headspace, but I'm not just going to give people content they want if it's not something that I want to do. Sorry. Among Us versus Fall Guys death battle sounds stupid and lame as fuck. I ain't doing that shit. I don't want to.
And I took some pride in that I was at least semi-self-aware enough to know this, insert BoJack clip.
But I know I'm a piece of shit. That at least makes me better than all the pieces of shit who don't know they're pieces of shit.
God, dude, I love BoJack so much.
Or is it worse?
Increasingly, talking about Helluva Boss felt like a chore. I was forcing myself to talk about each episode even when I didn't have much to say. Sometimes an episode has issues, but it's fine. Not every episode needs to be a conversation, but there I was having them.
Well, and again, you don't have to make a review to every episode of Helluva Boss. You can only talk about it when you want to talk about it. That is the beauty of being a YouTuber. The fact that you literally have power over this kind of thing. It's not like people are paying you for a review of every episode of Helluva Boss, and you owe that to them. You have the right to make your own content, and if people want to watch it, they will, and if they don't want to watch it, they won't, and that's their prerogative. I think that's my my personal relationship with my audience. They know that the content that I make is content that I make because I want to make it, and I think it'll be funny or good or riveting commentary or just talking about the chaos that's going on in the world. And on the flip side, they also know that they're not always going to get every topic that they ever want, because I am a different person. Yeah, that's right. We all have our choices. I don't know. I feel like that's just a healthy relationship with your audience. No, we own you. Make more jokes, funny man. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate you guys.
This is not to say that I lied or made up these critiques. Outside of unhappy campers, I always try to be honest. If I said something that issue...
Wait, so he admits he was flat out dishonest in his review of that Happy Campers one. God damn.
It was because I genuinely believe that it was. But I still think my low point here was definitely Hazbin Hotel, where...
What? God damn, I didn't see that one coming. Holy shit. All right. Is this where Twitter is going to come in play? Because Twitter is losing their mind over the fact that Helluva Boss's biggest fan became his hater.
I wanted the coins so badly, even though it was January, the worst month for YouTubers. So
Drew! Dude, if they would have released Hazbin Hotel on fucking November, holy moly would I have made more money.
I literally worked twice as hard for half the pay. With me rushing to bring shit that even if it wasn't true, I would never bring it up if I was talking about the show to a friend. Like the janky camera movement in the premiere.
What? What is this argument?
Hard for half the pay. With me...
Yeah, you do have to work harder for half the pay on January, true. So, that's life. You don't have to make this content. You didn't have to review every episode of Hazbin Hotel and make 47 different, let me look at how many videos he made on Hazbin Hotel as it was coming out. All right, like, if he wants to maintain relevance in this sphere, I get it. All right, let's go. It came out like a year ago now, right? All right, so he made Hazbin Hotel is in trouble. By the way, he wrote that season 2, episode 7 was peak. I'm just saying. He wrote that it was peak of Helluva Boss. All right, I'm just saying. All right, so Hazbin Hotel 1. Okay, that's not Hazbin. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He made 11 videos on the 8-episode season of Hazbin Hotel. Now, I understand that definitely is working hard. That's definitely grinding. Dude, this is crazy. His thumbnails were nuts. Hazbin's rough starts. Mistake were made. The hotel doesn't matter. Damn, son. All right, well, anyway, anywho, the point that I'm trying to make here is you didn't have to work that hard. He decided to work that hard. And yes, you get less pay on January, but that's just life in January. He probably had a great month of content in January, regardless, right? Dude, I don't even know why, like, this is an argument. It's like, he's upset at Hazbin Hotel because it came out in a month that YouTubers don't really make a lot of money. Meanwhile, it was his biggest month ever. Okay, so this is Sarcastic Chorus, right? So if you look at his views, his monthly views for Sarcastic Chorus, January is his biggest month ever with over 7 million views. Well, maybe not ever, but at least this year. I could probably find a way to look at more than a year. But yeah, it's his biggest month ever. And if you look at subscribers, he gained 11,000 subscribers in January. So it's true that that's not necessarily, it's not directly money, right? It's obviously not directly translated into money. Still got 11,000 subscribers that'll hopefully watch his other videos, right? I don't know. I feel like this is... I get why this would get someone to burn out. I get why this would make someone get burnt out, for sure. But, like, this isn't a reason or criticism towards Hazbin Hotel that it released in January.
Rushing to bring shit that even if it wasn't true, I would never bring it up if I was talking about the show to a friend.
Yeah, but you're doing a review. You're not talking to a friend. Dude, when I talk about a show to a friend, they're like, oh, hey, how was Hazbin Hotel? I'm like, it was pretty good. I liked it. I suggest you watch it, too. Music was good. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're not going to bring up shaky camera movements because you're a reviewer, not a friend. Wait, what? What kind of an argument is that, bro? Oh my god.
Like the janky camera movement in the premiere. I made a video a few months.
Dude, but it's a review. It's not to a friend. You don't have to include that in the review if you don't want to. That's like such a non-issue. Look, you do not need to make videos on anything if you don't want to. You don't have to talk about things if you don't want to. That being a YouTuber is super privileged. It's a really lucky goddamn gig where you can talk about whatever you want. Again, me criticizing or giving my feedback is not criticism towards Sarcastic Horrors. I like Sarcastic Horrors. I think his videos are good. And this really ultimately is more of a video on why he's burnt out. Why he's burnt out. This isn't even criticizing the show. He's just talking about why he's burnt out, and somehow the discourse on the internet around this situation is the writing is so awful now. The writing is so bad. People on Twitter are losing their shit. Even Sarcastic Horror says the writing is so bad. When these are not arguments towards the bad writing. This is like, I didn't want to make this review. I ended up talking about things that I didn't really want to be talking about in this review.
Before Hazbin came out talking about the reaction I was afraid the show would garner from its hatedom, only to do a lot of those things. I still stand by a lot of my critiques, but I wouldn't have made that premise video if I wasn't a YouTuber.
Bro, that's rough.
I still stand by a lot of my critiques, but I wouldn't have made that.
Right, the hotel doesn't matter, right? So for those of you that need some lore, Hazbin Hotel is a story about a hotel where they're trying to rehabilitate demons to get them to fucking get into heaven instead of living in hell, which I think is a really good premise for a show. Then they eventually found out then they said that the hotel doesn't matter because there was a reason in the show that they don't focus a lot of the show on the actual rehab of the characters. And they don't focus that much on the actual rehabilitating demons into getting into heaven. They didn't even know if demons could get into heaven, or sinners or whatever can get into heaven. So he made a video, The Hotel Doesn't Matter, which I thought wasn't a very good video myself, because ultimately, I don't want to get into spoilers, whatever. That said, he's saying he wouldn't have made this video if he wasn't a YouTuber, but he is a YouTuber!
Do a lot of those things. I still stand by a lot of my critiques.
All right, valid. There are definitely critiques to be had.
But I wouldn't have made that premise video if I wasn't a YouTuber.
What does that mean? What does that mean? I wouldn't have made that premise video if I wasn't a YouTuber? All right. And you don't have to make those. You didn't have to make that video. Even if you wanted to make a review on every single episode of Hazbin Hotel, all right? Even though they came out in batches of 2. Bro, you could have gotten away with just making 4 reviews on Hazbin Hotel if you really wanted to, all right? Reviews in batches of 2. You basically did that anyway. Like, 8 episodes of Hazbin Hotel came out, all right? I'm just trying to get into this to its core, all right? 8 episodes came out, but they came out in batches of 2. This video is a review of episode 1 and 2. This video is a review of episode 3 and 4, all right? Then you got 1, 2, 3 fluff videos in between on different stuff. Then you got a review to episode 5 and 6, a fluff video, and an episode review of 7 and 8, and then a fluff video. Out of the 11 videos, only 4 of them are actual episode reviews. So that means almost 70% of the videos are fluff that were made to capitalize on the fandom, which is completely valid. You have every right to do that. You can make whatever the fuck videos you want. I'm not obviously criticizing any of that. But it's so sad that he felt so pressured into, I don't know, getting millions of views that it burnt him out. God damn, that's crazy. I mean, this is like such an interesting video to me. Like, from the perspective of a YouTuber, how to burn yourself out of basically hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of profit off this content. That's insane.
I would have thought it strange in how it raises weird questions about Charlie's motivations that just didn't have to be there if they cut it, but if not for the job, I would have written a Reddit post and moved on. However, the whole affair just left me with a growing dissatisfaction with the kinds of videos I was making and the ways I engaged with media, especially with the ones from the Helluverse.
Damn. So again, this definitely gives the vibe of personal downward spiral.
Though that is not to say that these shows are above reproach.
All right. So I assume now we're gonna get into the hate, right? I suppose we're about to get into the actual criticism for Helluva Boss. Until here, it was basically him talking about why he didn't like the type of YouTuber he was coming. He came! He didn't like the type of YouTuber he was becoming, as he was basically selling out his soul to grind out Hazbin Hotel videos.
Shut up!
Yeah, I can't leave you guys out
Valid.
getting my final thoughts on Helluva Boss Season 2, and it's complicated.
All right,
I think the
let's go.
greatest joy I got out of Mastermind and Sinsmas
Both great episodes, by the way, in my opinion. I think both are really good.
wasn't the dance. It's that the cherubs and Dork don't come back.
Okay, that is a huge L take, bro. I mean, not necessarily, specifically here. I think that the dorks are a fantastic plot line. The cherubs, I think, are shit. I hate the cherubs. God damn it, I absolutely detest the cherubs. But the dorks are awesome. I love the idea that there is like a paranormal force, like some sort of CIA offshoot that is out there trying to figure out exactly what is going on, that there are actually demons. They're trying to figure out paranormal activity. I love the dorks. I don't like the cherubs, but the dorks are freaking awesome. I'm just gonna say it. Now, obviously, I didn't want them in the finale of Helluva Boss because I thought that the finale was obviously very thematic to the actual dynamics of the characters, which I think is definitely valid. But I hope that they get some place to shine in Season 3. God damn it.
So I got to feel a sick validation how just I could finally say 100% that Full Moon was a miss. Like Season 2.
I mean, it was fine. It was a fine episode. I don't think it was one of the best. I don't think it was one of the worst. Like, he's obviously skipping the good episodes here. He's only talking about the shitty ones. But, yeah, no, this was a mid-episode for sure.
Who spent half the series building up to it, only for the majority of the episode to be about the fucking cherubs, with no thematic relevance to the actual focus of the story, instead existing solely to fill time, as otherwise this episode would be 5 minutes long. Overall, I think Season 2 has been okay, with some great moments, but
All right, let's go.
I think this series has a real issue with connecting those moments together, with the show often banking on people saying something tracks versus taking the time to set it up in the story. This is Imp, who shows unwavering faith to Blitz 90% of the time just showing up to fight the cherubs, or Andrelphus's whole stupid-ass plan hinging on Stolas watching TV at the same time.
Bro, this is like, you're criticizing the stupid plan of the fucking, this guy? This guy's, first of all, this guy's a bit of an idiot, all right? Let's be real here. He's a bit of a moron. What do you mean his whole plan is hinging on...
His whole stupid-ass plan hinging on Stolas watching TV at the same time.
Bro, this was the biggest trending thing of all time. And it's about you. All right, listen, Sarcastic Chorus. Maybe you've never been canceled on the internet before. Maybe you've glazed the Helluva Boss a little too close to the sun. Maybe you've never been canceled in the past. Bro, as someone that's been canceled many times, when you're getting canceled on the internet, you know you're getting canceled on the internet. You know it's happening, okay? It's like he's so shocked that he would have heard that this court case was going on. Bro, how many of you guys heard about, I don't know, the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial? Or the Luigi Mangione, CEO assassin trial? Or something like that. Like, you guys ever heard of those? Oh, yes, you did? Why? Is it because they are incredibly popular court cases in the public zeitgeist of the world? Oh, really? That's why, because they're incredibly popular. Well, this isn't only popular, but they're directly talking about him. This isn't like some random, insane, far-fetched plan that somehow Stolas is gonna hear that his best friend is about to get executed for crimes that he committed or whatever. Like, dog, this is not that stupid of an ass pull.
Something we've seen him do once before.
But you do not need to foreshadow the fact that Stolas watches television. He has a phone that he looks at all the time that has internet access. And this is the biggest story in the hell internet. Bro.
But not something the series set up in this episode to make it feel like it was the smarter choice versus just accusing Stolas of negligence. This is basically episode 3 of Hazbin Hotel and Vaggie, where new watchers have had zero time to get to know who she is, so her lamenting how protecting Charlie is her only purpose rings hollow, as we haven't had the time to establish who Vaggie is as a person. Hazbin, though, has the excuse of being picked up by 824.
I mean, to be real here, I do think that the pacing is definitely one of the biggest criticisms, probably in regards to Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. I do think that the pacing is probably the weakest point. Like, for example, it really is a little bit out of nowhere in regards to some of the pacing in Hazbin Hotel. It was 8 episodes, and it really should have taken more time to flesh certain things out. I do completely agree with that. But also, recognizing it as the fast-ass shit that it was, I don't know, that's great.
With its original plan of 12 episodes getting cut down to 8. But Helluva Boss is fully independent and free to not have those same time constraints.
Well, yeah, okay, it doesn't have time constraints, but you're literally, you know how expensive it is to produce an episode of Helluva Boss? Like, again, we're realizing these are not professional animators, editors, like these are people that came together to create something good, I guess.
So, with full control over its own story, it still chooses to not take a breath, have Stella say Stolz is bummed, and watches TV all day, to have the office share one worried look as Blitz leaves to foreshadow that they might follow him later. I bring this up as it's an issue Helluva Boss has always had.
Yeah, the pacing is rough, I agree. And?
Show's love of big emotional moments and jokes means it often struggles to fully connect or sep all those ideas as well as it could. There often being an expectation that people will get the vibe or impression and can assume the rest rather than taking that extra time to show us. There are people who watched season 1 and were blindsided that Stolas had actual feelings for Blitz.
You made a whole video talking about their shipping. That's what they call foreshadowing, right?
And as someone who shipped them, I get that.
I mean, I don't know, man. I agree that you're right, that the pacing isn't great. This just, in my opinion, the pacing always hasn't been great. I feel like the pacing has been consistently not great for all of Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel. I don't think this is like a brand new writing downfall. It's shit now. It used to be great. I just don't get that at all.
Also, I think Stoltz being the focus of the show was a mistake.
Oh, the deception, the betrayal, man, you deceived me.
I love that guy. I fucking love that dude.
Off my chest, I wanted to do a video centered around the question of whether or not Helluva Boss abandoned its premise. This was a common complaint against the show for most of season 2 as the antics of Imp were replaced by personal drama and Stolas. Personally, I think my take has changed as the series goes on from denial to, yeah, it did.
Dude! Bro, he's tackling this is every popular criticism of Helluva Boss literally boiled into a single video as like a final fuck you goodbye. Again, you have the right to hate Helluva Boss. I don't give a shit. And I think that everyone has the right to dislike any piece of media ever. Who are you to decide what the premise of Helluva Boss is? I don't think that Helluva Boss was ever really just about the wacky adventures. I think Helluva Boss was always a character piece between all these insanely broken people that, yes, their job is going on these adventures, murdering people. And I do think that's why the Helluva Boss shorts are actually really great, because they're just classic examples of Helluva Boss actually doing their jobs. They just don't want to actually write those episodes of just doing their jobs a million times, going into the world, finding someone to kill, killing them, coming back into their world, because that's the premise of Helluva Boss, I guess. A bunch of imps or whatever, they run some sort of business. They jump into the real world to murder people for people that are scorned, that want to assassinate people in the land of the living, like from hell, right? That's kind of what their business model is. And they run into a lot of random shit as that happens, but I still think that they do it a hell of a lot. They didn't completely discard this premise. I really feel like it was all about the character piece. This is a bunch of demons in hell trying to make their way. Again, I don't think you have to like it, but abandoning its premise.
Previous use of hit-based shenanigans get replaced with a greater focus on the titular Helluva Boss and his backstory, something that was brought up in season 1, but has come to dominate the plot with a speed that never left enough cushion to make this transition feel more subtle like it does in other shows.
You're right. It would have been nice if the pacing was better. I agree. That is such a genuine, true, and real criticism. I think the pacing in Helluva Boss is not good. I've said that before, I'll say it again. I think so, for certain.
It's also way more noticeable here as in something like The Owl House where the wants of the characters change and therefore the focus of the series.
I have to continue that shit.
Season 2 immediately elevates Stolas to the spot of the second main character, with us getting to see his full childhood and all of his wants and needs, with that making this shift all the more obvious, especially since the actual job of IMP doesn't become relevant or drive the story till arguably episode 3, but it's not until episode 5 that we see the M&Ms actually go and try and kill anyone. This all makes the show's change in focus pretty obvious, and while it was a choice that was doomed to annoy some people as any big shift will, I am personally of the opinion that shifting the story to focus on Stolitz isn't a bad thing in itself.
Alright. Okay, yeah, you're right. The indie animators and writers that wrote this fucked up the pacing a little bit. Alright.
Shows work by being centered around the messy personal lives of its main characters. No, the real issue here...
You're right, the show would be better if it was better. I completely agree. It ruined my life.
Here is the writing.
I'm so flabbergasted. So criticize it. Dude, if you want to make critical pieces on Helluva Boss, you could do...
You can't center a story around the flaws of its main characters, then refuse to meaningfully engage with those flaws. Let me explain.
Alright.
Helluva Boss has this habit for most of Season 2 that I was able to clock fairly early on, but are at their absolute worst in Mastermind and Sinsmas, where the
Alright.
story will take the actually interesting flaws and mistakes of its characters, then strip away the nuance like in the case of Stolas cheating on Stella, as now it's just completely valid given how she is and always has been a monster.
Really? Do you think that makes it completely valid? You think if your spouse is a monster, that gives you a right to cheat on them instead of divorce them? I mean, all right, if you say so. I'm just wondering. I don't know. I don't know what the actual situation is in hell. I don't know if cheating is considered as evil in hell as it is, in real life. I don't know if, it's a really confusing point. She is a bitch. She's evil. She's manipulative. She tried to kill him. She tried to assassinate him, right? My perspective was, the entire time, my perspective was Stolas and Stella were both equally at fault in their relationship. And, he was cheating on his wife, which was fucked up of him, because they were both in the wrong. Season 2 made it more clear that Stolas is really an abuse victim. In hell, let me remind you.
Or Blitz's beef and rivalry with Fizz, turning out to be based on a misunderstanding.
Why is that like a bad thing? You know how many beefs and rivalries stem from misunderstandings? Like, I think that the Stolas stuff was wonderful.
We get opportunities to explore the flaws and mistakes of the characters, only for the story to pick the least challenging option possible so the two never look too bad.
I guess I get this criticism, but they're making their characters good people. Like, they decide which characters they want to make good people and which characters they want to make bad people. And ultimately, all of the characters in this show definitely have their asshole-y vibe to them, right? A lot of them are definitely not good people. Like, I don't think people are going to watch the show and be like, oh yeah, Blitz done nothing wrong. But simultaneously, none of them are like that abhorrent that they are the monsters that surround them either. I don't know. I think that's kind of valid. They don't want to write their characters as like completely irredeemable monsters, I guess.
Then, when criticism is presented, the story more often than not undercuts or makes a person critiquing them have one thing that makes them feel like they're being off base. Andrelphus is evil and accuses Blitz of the only crimes he didn't commit against Hell.
What? And he's a bad guy. Well, he's upset that Andrelphus or whatever his name is slandered Stolas? He's a villain. Yeah, he lied. And?
Millie criticizes Blitz's choice not finish a hit even though it's functionally identical to the one we saw at the very first episode, only for Blitz to say no, as he sees himself in them.
Yeah, Blitz didn't want to commit a murder because he didn't feel like it at that point. True. Because he was it was obvious that he was the one who was being the sentimental bitch in this scene.
With Millie's disagreements getting couched in the fact that she's suffering mood swings because she's pregnant.
No. It's not that she disagreed with Blitz about completing the hit. It's that she wasn't gonna listen to his order even though he's the boss. That was the impression I got. It wasn't the mood swings that made her being willing to kill the family. No, the mood swings were that she was gonna not obey a direct order from her boss. That was the mood swings.
Pulling focus from that valid critique and putting the idea into the audience's head that her being galled by Blitz's decision isn't due to her personal reservations or morals. No, she's preggers and emotionally volatile.
This is like so confusing. Okay, again, I think her disagreement was based on she has a job to do, but her not obeying her boss was based on her being moody. I think that was kind of the vibe that they were getting.
Or how Via calls Stolas out, only for the story to have done everything it could to soften the blow to his image, from turning the trial into a split-second heroic sacrifice to the addition of this line.
And you needed these! Was this my fault that you needed these?
No!
Which, while in character for a teenager, to me this fits his pattern of softening, where rather than sitting with the critique of Stolas' character, the audience and Stolas are now hung up on the melodrama of Via jumping to conclusions.
Bro, Stolas was a really shitty dad, and I think that Olivia, is that her name? Definitely had the right to be pissed at her. He sacrificed himself, he got stripped of his title, purely to help the imp guy, not giving a shit of how much destruction would come to the life of his daughter. His daughter was mortified, Octavia, not Olivia, thank you. Bro, yeah, I think that's valid. He was an incredibly shitty dad, for sure. What? He literally left the court case, went straight to Blitz, and only thought about calling Octavia like 2 days later. Yeah, that was shitty. True. He is someone that liked his daughter, but he was a pretty shitty dad and husband, probably.
Plus, what put them into this situation wasn't Stolas suffering the consequences of his actions. This isn't the culmination of Stolas' neglect of Via. It's not Stolas being held accountable for the actions he's displayed the entire series.
I do think this is valid criticism. I do think it would be nice if Stolas actually realized that he was acting wrongly throughout. And it's not just some sort of society is the one that's cringe.
Instead, it's him getting held accountable for performing a heroic sacrifice, which paints Stolas in an objectively more sympathetic light and distracts from what should be the core tragedy here.
Yeah, I think that is definitely valid criticism, 100%. I do think there should have been more focused on Stolas actually fucking up, instead of him just facing the consequences of being a good guy. I think that's valid. I think this is valid criticism for sure. But I do think that that's something that exists too, right? Octavia is not just upset at him because he committed a sacrifice. Octavia is upset at him because the whole family fell apart, and it's his fault. And it is his fault. And he did not act with his daughter's first interest in mind.
Which is the actual flaws of the characters and how they screw them over. The characters critiquing Stolas and Blitz outside Vraska are either evil racists or have their opinions explained away as being a result of some other factor outside of their control. This all contributes to a sense that Blitz and Stolas are just too precious, they made some mistakes and
Bro, is that really the vibe that anyone got watching the show? Dude, they have a whole fucking party of people that hate Blitz. And those people are not painted as evil. Those people are painted as people that were wronged by Blitz. I am very confused here. And I definitely did not get the impression that these were two precious people. I mean, maybe that I was just mistaken. I think they're both people that did a lot of shitty things over their life and literally made the bed of their own misery.
Flaws they do have, well, it's always going to be put in the most positive of lights. Then, even when they do manage to draw attention to a character's flaws and grill them on it, like Blitz and Apology Tour, the story, with the exception of 2 lines in a song, will ignore Stolas' issues to keep hammering home on Blitz's, on top of making him the problem in his failed relationship to Vraska, where previously they're implied to be mutually toxic, which touches on another issue where the story keeps hinting at nuance, only to choose the most simplistic angle possible.
Okay, it's a shame that the writing isn't better, I guess. I think the pacing is bad also, I suppose. I'm not sure what this criticism is exactly, that they hint at nuance, but only use simplistic excuses to wrap them up. Yes, Stella is obviously a worse character in this relationship than Stolas, but Stolas was an incredibly shitty character in this relationship too. His number one priority was not his daughter when it should have been, and I don't think that anyone is sitting here thinking that Stolas is just like a great dad.
Blitz and Stolas can...
Like a wild amount of criticism. Again, he's a reviewer. He has every right to criticize this shit. I think 100%. He has every right to criticize the show. 100%. In my reaction to the final episode of Helluva Boss, I remember talking about how Stolas was a shitty dad and why Octavia. Fuck, I keep fucking up her name. Why Octavia is so justified in her hatred towards him. I literally talked about that. And I think that talking about this type of thing is definitely valid. It's just sad to me that he feels so burnt out of the series that he's not even able to talk about it anymore. Positives or negatives.
Absolutely work as the leads of this story. I think for my personal taste, I think the story loses me in how it wants to have it all. To have the big emotional moments, a social commentary, unpacking all this trauma, then be a comedy that switches between jokes to abuse on a dime. The feels are there, but I'd argue that some of these big emotional scenes feel low-key manipulative, since they don't really have the scaffolding to help them stand on their own. I think for me, the story just failed.
Again, I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that entire little segment. I think the comedy is good when it's funny. I think the abuse overtones are good commentary when they're done well. I think that the court case was fucking hilarious, that Hell has a kangaroo court. That's just beautiful. Like, I think all those things separately are good and collectively do a good job to paint the picture of how fucked up this world is.
Failed to convince me that it wasn't biting off more than it could chew, and that focusing the story around Stolas was a miss, since the story never takes the time to fully engage with the flaws that are supposedly driving the story. With the worst example of this being Mastermind, which honestly pissed me off, and what a missed opportunity it was.
All right, I'm ready. I liked Mastermind, but I also thought it could have definitely gone harder on Stolas.
As the choice to not base a trial around the actual crimes of Blitz and Stolas was a massive L. Instead, we got a convoluted evil plan where Blitz gets accused of assault. We get a hollow "the system is rigged" speech, all while half the people who run the system get played off as goofy good guys or a haha, Satan just wants lunch.
Dude, the point of that was not that they were goofy good guys. The point was they actually knew Blitz. They are biased judges. A judge is not allowed to actually know who Blitz is, right? You're not allowed to know the defendant before. That is a conflict of interest. The reason why it's a kangaroo court is because half of the fucking 7 deadly sins that are sitting on the court bench already knew the guy and already either loved him or hated him. That is why it was a joke of a court case. Satan is saying haha lunch because it's talking about how little he actually cared about executing an innocent man. He literally did not care at all. Bro, he is like the Mr. Beast here. He doesn't give a shit about his contestants. He's just, on to the next. This is his thing. Moves on, right? And the entire Andreafist plan, he wanted to accuse him of assault because what's he going to accuse him of? He wanted to accuse him of something that would get Stolas to admit that he gave him the crystal so that he would lose his power. Yes, it's a convoluted plan, but it's funny.
Where Blitz gets a system get played off as goofy good guys.
They're not goofy good guys. They're people that actually know Stolas, that know Blitz beforehand.
Or a haha, Satan just wants lunch.
Yeah, a corrupt judge who doesn't give a shit about justice and just wants to execute an innocent man and move on. Yeah.
To borrow a point a friend made to me while we were talking about this, there's such a compelling story to tell about Blitz committing crimes as a way to crawl out of the situation he was born into. And for those who made the rules criticizing him for it, possibly framing it as selfishness. Something real-world oppressed groups have to go through, and this could have made Stolas stepping up to defend Blitz all the more impactful.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he could have gone up there and defended Blitz in a much cooler way about talking about how social hierarchies and cringe and stuff. But yeah, I don't think that would work. I just don't think that would work in the context of where they are. As it is right now, the imps look up to, the imps and the citizens of hell do look up to Blitz for standing up against the system. But if Stolas would have done that shit, it just wouldn't have gone well.
As it would be him actually acknowledging the hypocrisies of the system on top of his own mistakes and treatment of Blitz.
See, I do think the hypocrisies of the system are going to be something that definitely becomes more relevant as the series goes on, because the system is fucking broken and bullshit. I just don't know if this is the place.
This would have been a true sacrifice, a culmination of all the world building and setup over the course of the series, versus Stolas just declaring himself the bad guy with nobody questioning it.
Who's gonna question it? If he wouldn't have declared himself the bad guy, they would have killed Blitz. Like, they made it perfectly clear that they didn't give a shit about Blitz, right? They were willing to execute him based on the testimony of an assassin who wrote his speech on his hand. Like, this is set in hell. This is the most oppressive court system of all time. They were gonna execute Blitz based on nothing, zero facts. If Stolas wouldn't have literally taken every ounce of blame, they would have still executed Blitz, right? I mean, it's kind of wild. And again, I do think maybe they could have gone in a different direction here, but I don't think it's like that bad.
As at the end of the day, the story just wants to focus on the melodrama of Stolas singing his heart out, Blitz realizing he loves Stolas back, with all the issues that kept them apart, the things that I first found actually interesting about their relationship, the power imbalance, the lack of self-awareness on both their parts and their inability to communicate,
yes.
All that gets traded away for a song.
Yeah, it definitely did make it easier. I do hear his criticism here. It definitely did kind of take a lot of the things that were holding their relationship back was that they weren't able to open up to each other. And here they opened up to each other. I think that's perfectly valid, like on the show's perspective. But on his perspective, he's saying that he doesn't like that the power imbalance stuff was traded away because he literally had to give up a lot of his power and shit in order to, end up together with Blitz. He had to give up all of his power, almost get, executed and shit like that. And the power imbalance is gone. I don't really think the power imbalance was ever the problem. I think it was more, both of them were looking at each other from the perspective of, they definitely aren't into me. They're in a whole other world. They're not in my world, and no one's actually willing to open up to each other. Here's them opening up to each other, with both of them willing to kill themselves for each other. Both of them are willing to die for each other. Yeah, I think that definitely is a pretty good eye-opening reason for them to actually get over their issues, I think.
Which is an exchange that I personally don't fuck with. And by the end of the season, I low-key wish the story had just ended with Stolas and Blitz being sad together on that couch. But no, the story wants to give one last squee moment for the fans and has them dance outside with us needing a hug where Stolas doesn't hug Blitz back to remind us that, yeah, he did just lose his daughter today.
Yeah, shitty thing happens, and also not shitty thing happens in the same day sometimes.
But fuck that, look at the ship, which, nah, this didn't feel earned to me. It's like,
okay, if you don't like it and you're the ship master, if you want to criticize away. I mean, sure, I don't know. I never looked at this that way per se, but alright.
Mastermind wanting heartfelt music at the end despite Stolas having just lost his daughter for the first time, and didn't decide to try and call her immediately because we need Via's beef in the next episode to track.
I think it's because he was in shock and he's a shitty dad and he was thinking of himself before he was thinking about his daughter, and he's selfish in that regard, and that's why he didn't immediately call his daughter, because he was thinking about himself and what happened to his life, and he didn't think about his daughter, and that literally is what put him in this situation.
I don't like describing stories as feeling like fanfiction, as all fiction is fiction, but my personal take on the series' writing is that Helluva Boss has an impulse control problem. That it wants to do all the things, give all the moments, even if when they're stacked together, they're to the story's detriment.
I do think that's true. I think he is right about that. I do think they don't want to make the pacing slower because they want it to be just bam, 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 constant fucking, hot moments, literally the entire story. And I think that is why their pacing suffers.
Like Stolas beating Andrelphus' ass.
Oh, that was so glorious.
Yeah, that's cheer-worthy.
Yes, I cheered. That was incredible.
But seeing as he just got his ass beat by a posh soft boy who's never worked a day in his life, I'm not gonna take Andrelphus seriously after such a fat L.
Your first mistake was ever taking him seriously. Bro, ain't no way.
Even if the animation is amazing. This issue is all over the series, but to throw out just my
He jumped him. Andrelphus didn't expect it. I don't know, I thought that was awesome.
pettiest example, Visago shouldn't exist.
Wait, what? No, what do you mean? He wasn't important at all, he did nothing.
I am about to explain everything in the only way I know how. Song! Yes! Yes! Cántalo, baby!
Visago's
I mean, that was obviously a joke, right?
love of Stolas annoys me. This series...
He didn't even say that he loved Stolas. He was just asking incredibly obvious, glaring questions about the trial. They were gonna execute an innocent man. He was the only one being like, should we maybe not execute an innocent man until we have evidence?
It's us over the head with how miserable and isolated Stolas was. How Via was the only good thing he had in his life, only for them to throw in this random supportive friend out of nowhere.
I mean, we don't know if he was a supportive friend or if he was just a character that kind of wanted a slightly more honest system, I guess. Maybe he seems like a more neutral friend, if anything. He didn't give a character witness. There was no character testimony about anything. I mean, he was just kind of standing there and being like, wait a second, we want to execute this man, but we have no evidence? Like, that was kind of the shit that he was saying.
Muddying the information we already have for just a bit of fun.
I mean, this was just like an obvious Goetia match, right? These are two people of the same class and stature arguing with each other, which I think is totally valid. Like, maybe he doesn't even like Stolas. Maybe he just doesn't like this fucking prick.
Character, but one whose role in the story speaking up for Stolas would have been better filled by Asmodeus.
Maybe. I mean, it is clear that the Seven Deadly Sins are on a level a lot higher than the Goetias. So obviously, the Seven Deadly Sins don't want to stick their neck out per se for these lower beings. It would have been nice if Asmodeus did do that. I do realize it would have been nice if Asmodeus would have done something like that. But Asmodeus did fight for them.
As we spent 2 whole episodes on this man and his relationship to an imp, so for him to just do the bare minimum in these scenes felt off given how much we've already invested our time into him.
Yeah, on a personal level, I guess.
And speaking of time,
well, why would he stick his neck out for some guy that he, like, barely knows?
One of the most common defenses this show gets is that this issue of the show just needs more time.
Again, pacing. I agree! I'm with you. Pacing bad. Sure, I'm literally.
That people are too impatient and need to wait for the show to basically finish, as said issues will hypothetically be addressed in the future, which I get this defense. This show is on an irregular schedule, independently animated, yet it keeps getting visually better every year. This makes it make sense why people want to give the story time to address what it wants to address. However, a lot of the things that people were jumping season 2's premiere for were still issues by the end of the season.
Okay. You know, we're not explaining why like he's done, but yes, okay, true. There are issues with the show.
Stolus getting whoobied, repetitive character beats, tonal whiplashes that miss just as often as they hit, etc, etc. They're able to get to some things sometimes, like Millie getting fleshed out, and I don't think a show should waste time trying to respond to every critic. However, I do think there is a distinction between not giving a show enough time to cook and questioning how it spends its time to the detriment of other parts of the story. So
I think that is also valid. I think you could definitely question why it spends its time where it spends its time. But I do think that basically boils down to the pacing is bad. I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to sound like a broken cock over here, but it really just sounds like the pacing is bad, and he's upset that the pacing is bad.
I don't fault a lot of people who have issues with how Helluva Boss handles certain topics, with the promise that they might later not being a very convincing argument in the moment, or really ever. This fandom is hyperbolic to say the least. The haters are some of the worst I have ever seen. The hyper defenders would defend anything.
True! What my friend, my guy, my dude, my sarcasticest of course is welcome to every single fan base on the internet. Oh my god, there's no way that I'm hearing this argument. The haters are insufferable and the glazers are also, they'll defend anything. My guy, dude, welcome to the internet. Bro, that's every single place. That's every single fandom of every single show. Okay, I love One Piece, all right? The glazers are a little bit insufferable. The haters are fucking atrocious. What do you want from me? It's every single show. You're gonna have people shitting on it. Every single show. Arcane, all right? Arcane is a masterpiece. It just happened. I loved it. I loved it so much. It was so good. I would criticize. Again, pacing, I think. The final, I think they should have turned the final 3 episodes into 6 episodes and fleshed out a little more of what happened there. But, dude, the haters are unbelievable. There are people out there hating on Arcane, talking about how it's absolute dog shit. Bro, what are you talking about? And then you have other people saying it's an actual masterpiece that can't even get criticized. Like, dude, you guys are all insane. But I don't know why that should affect your ability to review a show or talk about it in any meaningful way. You have the right.
With everything in between getting weaponized by one side or the other. I mean, adjacent, but this is, let's be honest, this is the same fandom. I watched some people go to war over one video a few months back from a victim of SA and how they didn't like how Angel Dust was handled. And while I disagree with some of their points, I don't think the fact that they have that opinion is a problem. And
everyone has the right to have an opinion about anything. Like, he's just describing, like, your classic bad fandom. It's like, God, I hate the fact that there was a fandom, someone in the fandom that said something and people disagreed. Really.
There could be a conversation of how the show's execution might have led someone to having that take, but there wasn't one. And with how social media is gamified,
No. The gamification of social media is the fact that it's like, oh, Angel Dust was abused, and we hate that because abuse is bad. And it's like, everyone's like, oh my god, they're so right. Hazbin Hotel is literally glorifying abuse. No, it's not, bro. It's not doing that.
There never will be. That said though, I don't want anyone to think I'm quitting because of the fandom. I've had shockingly few death threats, and most—
Speak for yourself.
Most importantly, I think all opinions on media are valid, even if they're—
I don't think all opinions are valid. I think a solid most opinions are valid, but I think some aren't.
Held by assholes. No, the real reason, the thing that's driven me to this point is that I still want to like this show. Flawed as hell, I still have fun watching it, but—
What? How did he go there? Bro, oh my god.
Having made the way I publicly engage with Helluva Boss being through criticism has actively deteriorated the way I view the show.
Yeah, because again, maybe it's just people that nitpick end up hating stuff that they nitpick more. I feel like I'm able to make a very big distinction in my mind that even though I'll criticize something, I'll still find things that I like about it.
Millions of people like this thing. If the Wayback Machine and this one dude on Reddit are correct, the show's fandom has remained pretty consistent over—
View count of each Helluva Boss episode about 1 week after its release. Damn. So season 1 episode 1, 7. Season 1 episode 2, 9. Season 1 episode 3, 10, 7, 11, 10, 8, 8. 13, 9, 10. Holy shit. Super consistent.
Over its lifetime. But personally, I'm tired. I'm tired of having to engage with the show the way that I have.
So change the way you engage with it, bro. Just make videos about it whenever you want. You're not a fucking slave to making fucking goddamn hit pieces on Helluva Boss. It's like, bro, dude has a gun to his head and it's like, criticize Helluva Boss. Criticize the gay man.
These moments I could take and enjoy now need to be broken apart and monetized again and again and again. And
They don't. They do not need to do that. Why, bro? You can do whatever you want. Oh, it's so painful.
I'm not gonna stop doing reviews and ship analysis for other shows. I think with the end of season 2, where in spite of the moments that I liked, the ship I've dedicated hours upon hours just talking about finally getting made canon, my only real takeaway was ambivalence. And that's a bummer. So
Yeah, that is a bummer, I guess.
I sat down and failed to write a review. The second time this has happened since I just hit a wall with Mastermind. And it was there just sitting at that table that it occurred to me that maybe Helluva Boss isn't for me anymore. It's amazing that so many people are happy with Helluva Boss and it's giving them everything that they want, but personally, I'm not vibing with it like I used to.
Alright.
That what the show wants to be and what I want out of it are just becoming two completely different things. That certain aspects that seem so rich with potential just will remain surface level.
It's like he hates the show because he wants it to be perfect, but it's not perfect. It's just great. Damn, that's right.
Viewing the show for years with just the criticalist of lenses has made so that the flaws stick with me way more than the good, and I feel like a broken record talking about them. So with all that swirling around in my head the day after the episode dropped, talking with friends who ranged from it was fine to pissed, I think it finally hit me that I just might need to walk away from Helluva Boss. If I'm not vibing with it, it feels like a chore writing about, then I think it's time to stop.
God damn, holy shit. Talking about this is like someone literally divorcing their wife and giving and explaining to his children why why mommy and daddy are going in different places. Oh my god, dude. Bro.
If I kept going the way that I am, I'll probably end up hating the show and how I talk about it. So for all these reasons and more, I've decided this is gonna be my last time discussing Helluva Boss. And
if he debates me in the final second, he's like, except I'll only talk about it whenever I want to talk about it. I'll literally just kill myself. That was a joke. I won't kill myself, but I'll think about it.
Probably Hazbin Hotel for the foreseeable future. I wish Helluva Boss and Spindlehorse all the best, even with all the things that it's done that are worthy of critique. But
you wish them the best even though they did things worthy of critique? Brother, they made a fucking show. Dude, what do you mean worthy of critique? You sound like, yeah, they ran a crypto scam. They raped children. Like, what do you mean worthy of critique? Because the show has bad pacing? Yes, I also still wish them the best, even though they made a show that I don't necessarily like so much.
But I won't be the one making them. I'll be forever thankful to this show and to all of you who tuned in to hear me bitch and squee about Helluva Boss and Stolitz. Your support has meant the world to me. I hope you all keep watching this show and keep following me on this strange YouTuber journey I've stumbled into.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes you just gotta walk away.
Bro, this is like, and that is why I had to put my dog down. It's like, holy shit. And I thought Helluva Boss was melodramatic. Oh my lord, that's insane. Again, listen, if you don't like the show, no one is forcing you to make videos on the show. If you don't want to make videos on the show, you don't have to make the show. You don't even have to like the show. You don't have to engage with this show. None of that is actually important or matter. It's just, I feel like, at least from my perspective as a YouTuber, I get why constantly feeling like you need to critique something will make you grow to hate it, even though you inherently don't hate it that much as a fan, you just don't love it as a critic. And I think, for example, Sword Art Online is a fantastic example. Sword Art Online is a show that, in my opinion, is alright. It's an alright show, alright? First season I thought was pretty good. I liked it. As a viewer. As a critic, you could tear that shit to shreds, bro. But that still doesn't negate the fact that I enjoyed it when I first watched it as a fan, right? Now, I think all of that is valid. All of that is definitely real. It is insane to see Twitter taking this video and use it as their classic example. Their classic example of how even the fans are hating Helluva Boss right now. When ultimately his critiques boil down to bad pacing and not super satisfying payoffs. Like, that's really his critiques. even from him, it still sounds like he's like, the show is still fine. It's just not going the direction I really want. And his engagement with the discourse is toxic. It's a show that I think is like an 8 out of 10. It's all right. All right. It's a good show that I enjoy every time a new episode comes out. But also, I think Sarcastic Chorus, if you're watching this, which I hope you're not, because I probably offended you at some point over this video, and I really did not want that to be the case. I was just engaging and criticizing, you know. I wish you all the best, obviously, and I hope your channel's super duper fucking successful and all that. So, if you are watching this, I don't think this is a Helluva Boss problem. I think this is a you problem. Because even if Helluva Boss completely fell off and it's still shit, you have every right to decide when or what to talk about in regards to this show. If you want to talk about Helluva Boss more, you could. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And I don't think anyone needs to be fucking obligated to do this shit. Literally no one is obligated to do anything. That is the beauty of YouTube. You can make whatever video you want. You could literally make videos praising the parts of Helluva Boss that you like and just not talking about the parts of Helluva Boss that you don't like. That is a completely and utterly valid thing to do. Like, bruh, you don't have to sit here, take an episode, break it apart, and talk about all the shit that you hate because that you could find nitpicky reasons why they're bad. You could just talk about some of the things that you like and disregard the stuff you don't like. That's a much more positive way to engage with a series. I think it's a much more positive way to engage with media in general. Obviously, it doesn't make you a reviewer. It, like, you know, you're not giving the IGN reviews. Dude, Nux, I don't mean to offend. Also, Nux, the problem isn't Helluva Boss. The problem is you. Fuck. Listen, I'm just trying to be real here, all right? Listen, I like, God damn it, fuck, no. But when I said that the problem was you, all right, what I meant to say was that you are, in fact, the problem. Anyway, thank you for being here. Definitely fucking do whatever the fuck content makes you happy, because ultimately, it's your happiness that matters. I think Helluva Boss is still a pretty good show that I enjoy every single time a new episode comes out, and Twitter is using this as their fucking, Jesus on a cross. So stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.